Hey everybody. I honestly never thought that I would have to revisit this topic given the passage of time, but as I said in my blog post, it looks like I severely underestimated the significance of the incident that will forever be known as Gamergate. Not to be confused with ants, but I'm talking about that incident that happened over the summer of 2014. Presumably you're looking at this from my WordPress blog, so I'm just going to say click the link above this video for more details on what happened and what it eventually meant for the gaming community. But let's just say that I severely underestimated how divisive that incident was for the gaming community as a whole. Of course, personally, I'm not affected by it since I don't really give a damn what the gaming community thinks. Never have and never will. I mean, that's why I blog, more or less. I have my own thoughts on video games in general, and so forth and so on. So, in terms of me directly affected, not so much, but talking with a new friend that I made at Anime Boston 2 months ago through via Facebook, it turns out that the significance of that event from last summer, just because it didn't affect me, didn't mean that it wouldn't have affected others in different ways. It's pretty unfortunate, though, as I've said several times through several blog posts over the last 4 years now, the gaming community is crap. The gaming community, I'm just going to put it this way: the gaming community falls into one of two categories. At least this has been my observation. You're either an elitist you either in their view, you're either an elitist, aka one of them, or you're a nobody, one or the other. And the the worldwide introduction and the commercialization of esports is playing a large role in that. Um, Personally, I'm pretty sure that I did a blog post on this, so check the links for this below. But anyway, as folks that have been watching the news through social media have learned in the last year or so, ESPN has started covering esports. Um, yeah. As someone that has been playing video games since they were 3 years old, I do draw a very hard line in terms of what is a sport and what isn't. Playing video games isn't a sport, but I'll talk about that in more detail in another blog. But I'm mentioning that because it's connected to the whole controversy revolving Gamergate that no one is really talking about. I mean, in general, esports is just corporations trying to make money off of gamers. In short, that's literally what it is. The same thing can be said about NASCAR and many other non-traditional sports, if you know what I mean. But yeah, am I interested in esports? Hell no, I'm not. I'm not interested in that at all, which surprised a lot of my friends and family when I told them that. If I want to make money off of a sport, I'll play an actual sport like basketball or baseball. But anyway, I'm getting way off track now. So Gamergate, it's really tragic what it's done to to a lot of online communities. I mean, a lot of people are quitting gaming entirely because of how toxic how much worse it's made gaming communities in general. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I've been following the scene since the mid '90s, and it hasn't really had a track record of being good. You leave gamers just like the rest of the internet to police themselves. Crap happens, and no one should be surprised, right? So yeah. One thing that I will say for sure is I severely underestimated the ripple effect that Gamergate had on virtually every gaming community there is out there, with maybe a handful of exceptions. I didn't say all. I said majority. But yeah, a, a lot of folks who would fit under the elitists category of being casual gamers are doing one of three things. One, they're either conforming. Um, Two, they're saying "f that noise, I'm going to do my own thing," and more power to you. Or worse, number three, they're quitting video games altogether. Now, in my opinion, if you're going to quit video games, it shouldn't be because of a community saying that you can't play your games on your own time, however you want to play it. All this, I mean, and I've talked about this in regards to Pokemon, World of Warcraft, and many other video games on my blog. The elitist obsession with cookie cutter builds and so forth and so on, and the gaming industry's efforts to curb that in every way that they can. I mean, it's ridiculous that the elitists in the gaming community feel that the industry should conform to their way of doing things. It really is. This is definitely, to make a long story short, a situation where the customer is not always right. As I've also said to death in, I think, at least half of the blogs on my gaming blog, gamers are the most informed consumers there is. We have an obsession with researching video games from the moment it's announced to, in some cases, 20, 30 years after it's been released. We research games to the point, well past the point of obsession in many cases, so that one can easily say that in some cases we know the games as well as the people that made them. And the problem with this is a lot of people have gotten the mindset that, oh, since we know so much about this particular game or this particular franchise, we should have some say in terms of how it works out. And the way I see it, if you want to make video games, get in the industry. It's interesting when I think about it. A lot of folks that spent years on MMOs in particular have been making the jump to just making console games or working on smaller projects because of the immense pressure that is being put on them, not just on their bosses, but on the community itself. Where, and I've talked about this a lot, where folks want perfection, but they don't want to pay the cost of that perfection. Well, actually, I shouldn't say perfection, but folks want to get a AAA game, and they don't want to pay the market price for it. I mean, the way I see it, if you don't want to play video games, you don't deserve to pay. If you don't want to pay for a video game, you don't deserve to play it. It's that simple. And that's just how it is. I mean, if you want a good video game, be expected to pay for it. That's how you show the industry that you want them to make more video games. It's not a matter of, oh, this game sucked, the game that came before it was better, or, this company does it way more better. If that's how you feel, then go with that game instead. I mean, look, I've got a PlayStation 3, an Xbox 360, and I've got a Wii. I don't have any of the current gen consoles. Of course, folks know that I have two 3DSs and two Vitas, but in my particular case with the consoles, I'm just waiting for the price to go down because I like video games, but not enough to put myself in a bad position. Like all the systems that I've got, it is true that I have a lot of video games. I didn't buy the consoles when they first came out. The time I bought my PS3, I think it was 3 years ago now, and that was long after. That was well into the system's lifespan. So, and that was actually right after the PS4 was released. So, I already knew what I wanted to get. I got pretty much all the PS3 games that I want that are currently out. So, I'm pretty much set in that regard. Same with the Xbox 360. I got that. Actually got that to finish Tales of Vesperia. And then I ended up getting a whole bunch of other games after I got my 360. Same with my Wii. There were a handful of games that I wanted for it. I got a couple of others along the way, and let's not even get into the whole the Wii U was a failed console sort of thing, and that's a whole other conversation to have. But yeah, the way I see it, and I'm gonna wrap this video up to keep it under 10 minutes. Too many gamers and folks, and I should say folks that play video games. Too many folks out there with internet connections to go off of what other people's opinions. I mean, of course, I've got my own opinion. That's why I blog. That's why I make these videos. But the vast majority care about what other people think and about how other people feel in regards to their hobby. The way I see it, if you don't want to play video games anymore, who cares? It's your business. If you want to play your video games a certain way, who cares? That's your business. As long as you're not bothering anyone else with it, no one else matters. Go back to the blog so you can hear my closing thoughts on this.